All right. Today we're going to talk about Ham the Chimpanzee. And I look forward to these every day. They're fun. And I'm going to have the sound right, and it is. Now, just one side point for those that do content creation. I have, and when you're doing live, it's live, and it means like what I'm saying now, I can't go back in general. I mean, I can a little bit, but you can't really edit it. You can't edit the bad things out and some things you say that's stupid or whatever. You're there. This is it. But what I could have done is, and I'm doing it now, is within my Rode, not sponsored, Wireless Pro, which the receiver's right here, or the mic is right here, and the receiver is basically, or transmitter is basically on my side here. So we know that, and I can watch a program by Rode, and again, it's not sponsored, called, it's called Unify, Rode Unify. And it allows you to record using different devices, regular mics, wireless mics, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say. So I was stupid. And I'm recording it live to YouTube, but I'm also recording it on my wireless unit, so that just in the event I mess up again, I will have a good, clean, clear audio of what I'm saying now. Okay, let's talk about Ham the champ. He was actually champ. Chimpanzee. Ham the Chimpanzee, also known as Ham the Astro Chimp. I call him Doggo Naut. It's kind of like maybe Astro Chimp is a better name. It's notable for being the first hominid to travel into space. His historic flight was a significant milestone in space exploration, paving the way for human space travel. In the early life, Ham was born in July of 1956 in French Cameroons, now Cameroon. Okay, that makes sense. Don't make it too difficult. Okay, he was captured by animal trappers, which typically we worry that they're not where they're doing something good. But in this case, I feel they were. So subsequently, he was sent to the Miami Rare Bird Farm in Florida. Now you're saying, a chimpanzee going to the Miami Rare Bird Farm? Hey, I guess wherever you end up, as long as you got food and water, I guess you're okay. Okay. He was acquired by NASA. And in 1959, Ham was acquired by the U.S. Air Force, sent to Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico, where he became part of the Project Mercury program. Now, a lot of you youngsters aren't going to even know anything about Project Mercury, but that was the very first NASA rocket series that they put forth. And then they went to Gemini, and we go on and on and on. But Mercury was kind of the first, well, let's give this a try. And the difference here, of course, they trained Ham. And in my earlier live, I spoke a lot about Russia. And, they called me and they said, come on, Jim, give us a break. But anyway, what I feel is we did it right we did it in a humane way. Russia never planned on their occupant of their Sputnik to actually be able to return. And you know, you sit there and go, what's the point of, you know, doing a plan, building a structure, getting it done, where in essence, you're only doing it halfway. They sent up the dog, in this case, to space with no intentions that they were going to bring him home. It's just kind of like, well, we don't care, it's only a dog. Or in this case, it's a chimpanzee. We just want to make sure that our rocket works, it gets up, and it kind of says, well, you know, we kind of made this, but it was a one-way trip. I'm just wondering how many cosmonauts would go, yeah, I'm okay with this is the end of my life. You've trained me, trained me, trained me. You put me in the, you know, the spaceship. You send me up, and I'm never coming back. I don't really even see the benefit of that type of training. It's like if you're going to learn how to drive a car, you go out and sit in the car. And you're like, yeah, I'm good. I know cars real well. I mean, really. Slight exaggeration, but not very much. You know. So Ham, he's a ham. Okay, Ham underwent rigorous training at the Holloman Aerospace Medical Center. This training included learning to pull levers in response to light and sound cues, a task designed to simulate the activities astronauts would perform in space. Ham's training also involved being conditioned to withstand the physical stresses of space travel, such as high G forces and weightlessness. Now, one of my favorite shows, I mentioned it before, is Top Gun Maverick. And of course, it's a movie, but the reality of parts of the process of going from the ship to bomb, and they didn't really say who it was exactly, but bomb what was going to be a nucleus setup coming online in approximately less than 3 weeks. And to get in and out, you know, it was pretty forceful and hard. I mean, you're going at very good speeds, fast speeds, you know, through a canyon. But when they went up and down into where they dropped the bomb, for them to get out, they had to keep going, but then literally put the pedal to the floor, and literally they had 10 G's of force on their body as they tried to get up and over. And what it does at that level of G force, the brain's not getting enough blood with oxygen. So what happens is, it's very easy for you to black out or to almost look like you're falling asleep. Because the body says, look, hey, you're not giving me enough to move forward properly. I'm going to have to shut down a little bit. And that's exactly what was happening. And last thing I'll say about Top Gun Maverick, the interesting part is, okay, that was really important, because if any of them had not been able to take that amount of G-force, they would have had where they would have hit the canyon wall. And at that speed, they're gone. The plane's gone. You won't even know it was there, except maybe a burnt spot. But the funny part of this, if you want to call it funny, and you know it's a movie, thank goodness, When they got to the level of getting out of the canyon, there were these unbelievable anti-aircraft missiles that the minute the first plane went over the edge or above the edge of the canyon, they got shot like crazy. And I'm talking multiple batteries of these missiles. And they had to, yes, every plane, most planes, at least in the military, have what they call avoidance measures, ordnance that they can use to pop out of their jet, which, and this isn't an education on missiles, but what the missiles is targeting or locking onto is typically the plane's or jet's exhaust, meaning heat. So they have what we call countermeasures that they pop out, and flares and chaff, as we call it. The chaff is where it's going to fool the missile to think or lose its bearings, so it doesn't know exactly where it's going. And the heat-oriented countermeasures, since the rocket sent to them is looking for heat, and obviously coming out of the back of a jet, whether it's one engine, two engines, is a lot of heat. So the missile says, oh, I got it, and it locks on. But with the countermeasures, you pop them out, probably 6 or 7 or 10, I'm not even sure the number, they're heat. And then they're behind the jet, you know, in the sky. And in most cases, the missile goes, oh, hey, I see a better target or whatever. So that helps it where they don't get totally blown up. So Ham's flight took place on January 31st, 1961. And he was launched aboard a Mercury Redstone 2 rocket. Now, back then, you know, there was kind of like, you know, probably you had your heart in your throat worrying about all the things that you weren't really that comfortable with or good at, and you hadn't learned some of the things you would learn later on. But they did their best to make sure that Ham was going up and coming back down. Okay, the mission was a suborbital, meaning it didn't actually go into total orbit around the Earth. But it was intended to test the capabilities of the Mercury spacecraft and the effects of space travel on a living organism. During the flight, Ham successfully performed his lever-pulling tasks, demonstrating that tasks could be performed in space. The mission lasted about 16 minutes and 39 seconds, reaching an altitude of 157 miles and a peak speed of approximately 5,857 miles per hour. And for the metric people, 9,414 kilometers per hour. So there you go. And I really wish we had grown up with the metric system instead of the English system. We are the only country, along with Estonia, and potentially Estonia, maybe they finally caught on that metric makes more sense because it's one number based on another number, if I can say it so simply. Okay, Ham's capsule splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean and was recovered by a rescue ship. Despite a minor delay in recovery, Ham was in good health, though slightly fatigued and dehydrated. I would expect that because, they wouldn't have anything to drink, and obviously he had to deal with heat, especially with the reentry. But that's part of what you've got to test. If let's say he went into reentry and, of course they have to have a heat shield because with friction related it going back through the beginning of our atmosphere, it creates a phenomenal amount of heat. And, heat transfers. And it's not long for them to go from the beginning of getting into the atmosphere to where they're not having any issues, and then they can, open up the parachutes. But, he would definitely, if he would, drink some Tang. Now, you're all looking at me like, Tang? It's Tang. Now, it was billed, and actually it was pretty good, really. And they used to send it up with astronauts. Tang was just a powdered orange sugar. You put it in water. I guess I wouldn't put it in beer, but you put it in water and you stir it up. And, it had vitamin C, and, they made it sound like it was wonderful. Certainly, it probably was the best back then, and it was easy for them to actually have to, taking up and being able to have it where they're not just drinking water, they're drinking something that tastes better. Okay, following his successful mission, Ham became an instant celebrity and was widely celebrated as a pioneer in space exploration. Ham spent the next 17 years living at the National Zoological Park in Washington, D.C., before being transferred to the North Carolina Zoo in Asheboro in 1980. Ham died on January 19th, 1983, at the age of 26. And certainly he would be proud of, and again, I don't feel animals don't have these feelings that we think humans only have. They're wonderful, and especially with gorillas and chimpanzees, they are very close to us in the sense that, and we could look at both ways. We're like them, they're like us, but we all have, or both have, very close to the same DNA. Now, it's a little different, and yes, we do occasionally see, and I'm not being disrespectful, we occasionally do see humans that kind of look like a monkey. Strike that. Don't tell anybody I said that. Okay. Ham's flight was a crucial step in the U.S. space program, providing valuable data and proving that humans could perform tasks in space. His successful mission led to the subsequent manned missions, and this one I remember. I didn't remember Ham's, and I'm not sure why, but the same year, a astronaut by the name of Alan Shepard went up with basically the same flight, same equipment as Ham did. Now you'd say, well, that makes sense. We've tested the fact that something alive can stay alive and come back. And now we're going to send a human up, and they have certainly, more training. I'm not saying they're smarter, but they have more training because, again, there's going to be way beyond. Now, just as a little aside, I have a hard time just going straight through these. And I know most of you go, oh, come on, Jim, don't go too crazy on these side things. I was in 6th grade, and I had a transistor radio. which was like unheard of in those days. You know, I was tech back then, even though there really wasn't really any tech. But I remember standing outside at recess, and we have it on the transistor radio. And, you know, Alan went up, pretty much the same height, same amount of time and space, and came back and returned and was alive and well. So if you want to say Ham was the trendsetter, he was. So Ham is buried at the International Space Hall of Fame in Alamogordo, New Mexico. His grave serves as a tribute to his contributions to space and the world and the exploration and his role in advancing human space flight. Because, you know, I guess what would have happened, God forbid, he went up and, you know, thank God the Americans, the U.S. was saying, well, we don't believe it's a good test unless you're going up and you're coming down and you come out or down the same way you went up. So anyway, Ham's journey from a young chimpanzee in the jungles of Cameroon to a space pioneer is a testament to the significant strides made in the early years of space exploration and a vital role animals played in making human space travel a reality. So, hey, he's cool, and boy, there we go. So anyway, thank you. Again, this is still All Power Group. We get paid by All Power Group, if we get paid. And when I finally hit monetization, it will be, besides being wonderful, it will be money, 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 and not a lot of money. We know you don't make a lot of money on YouTube. Just that's the way it is. And if anybody's thinking, oh yeah, this is my future, well, you really need to have more than one thing going on at the same time. But again, I'm glad I had to do this twice. And I don't mean because of you, but I'm like, when I looked down at, when I shut down, I went, oh no, I didn't have my mic correct. Well, now it is correct. And I have to look over and say, yep, I can see my voice. That's good. So, thank you. And stay well. Stay away from COVID if you can. Wear a mask. I hate to say it. It isn't fun. I feel good now. And, you know, we're okay. So, thank you again. And I appreciate you being here and giving me a second chance. Thank you.